Morning! Naomi back for another video. Wanted to share something fairly quick with you. We'll just open up with a verse that I thought was kind of intriguing. We already know this, but it's really nice when we hit these verses in the scriptures. So this is John 6:63. It says, "The Spirit is the one who gives life. The flesh doesn't help at all. The words I have spoken to you are spirit and are life." So the words that Christ spoke to us, it says the words I have spoken to you are spirit and are life. So we've been discussing grace, we've been discussing law. I can't help but see there's a lot of comments made about Torah. We're to follow the Torah. That's Old Testament law. That was the covenant that they made with the Holy Spirit. That's what that is, right? We've discussed an allegory that we found referenced in Galatians 4:24. We've discussed this. We've used this in many of our discussions, our videos. How these two women are an allegory to two covenants, it says. And one's Hagar, one's Sarah. One represents the law that was given on Mount Sinai. That's the one that puts you in bondage. That's what it's telling you. And then Sarah represents Jerusalem, which Jerusalem is actually another word for Zion as well. Let's not forget that. Which is above, where our freedom is, which is in the Spirit. These two women represents two covenants. Well, you understand, Adam made a covenant with the Holy Spirit. He rejected the one with the righteous one, which was Eve. She was set out. He did not want a covenant with her. That's why she was named Eve. Her name was Adam in the beginning. They were one. They were not separate. They were together as one, male and female, body and spirit. He did not want a covenant with her. All right. Now, in other videos, I've also looked at another verse that I was given a different overview on. And that verse that we've discussed in many videos before this one, we found in Jeremiah 31:22. And it says this, "How long will you wonder, unfaithful daughter Israel," or Zion? "The Lord will create a new thing on earth. The woman," which is the daughter Zion, or Jerusalem, "will return," it says, "to the man." I've got that crossed out, "to the land." All right? So that's one rendering of that verse. But the prior verse says this. I should have read this one first. I'm always backwards on things. Jeremiah 31:21 says, "Set up the road marks, establish the signposts, keep the highway in mind, the road you have traveled. Return, O Virgin Israel, return to these cities." This Zion. That's mine. I put that in there. This Zion of yours. That's what it's saying to the virgin daughter of Israel, to return back to the land. All right? So, Jeremiah 31:22. "How long will you wander?" We're wandering. Where are we wandering? Out in the wilderness. So, we could liken that wilderness, in a sense, to the lands of the Gentiles. That's what we've been beginning to understand. Unfaithful? We're believing in man-made theology. We were always faithful to the truth until, and this is what we're going to look at, they caught us in their pit. All right? We're going to look at this. This is actually what it says. How long will you wander, unfaithful daughter Israel, or Zion? "The Lord will create a new thing on the earth. Renew it. Rebirth it. New branch." That's Zion, daughter Zion. "The woman will return to the man, to the land." That's what has always belonged to her, to Israel. So, what are we going to look at? Now, I know I told my dream that I said I wasn't going to tell. And it still hasn't set the best in my spirit. Because a lot of people can put a lot of wrong interpretations on it, myself included. I can do that too. But for me, I was looking at the word vine. All right? Because in my dream, these beautiful lilies, they were all vined. They were one vine. All right? And so the way that you understand your dreams and your visions is you take every element out that you can find, and you look for those elements within the scriptures. And a lot of times it's going to tell you a lot of things, all right? So what I come to understand is Israel is called the vine, all right? So this appears to be showing in symbology Israel in my dream. This was Israel in my dream. And she's likened to a vine. She's also likened to the lily. In it says she will. Did I write it down? Yeah, I didn't write it down, but I know where it is. So let's read. Oh, it's right here. It's Hosea 14. It says, Hosea 14 verse 4. Look at that, 144. I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely, for mine anger is turned away from him. It says, not him, her. I will be as the dew unto Israel. She shall grow as the lily and cast forth her roots as Lebanon. Her branches, all right? We've looked at the word branch many times. It is a feminine. Her branches, her daughters, shall spread, and her beauty shall be as the olive tree, and her smell as Lebanon. So I'm driving at that lily, that Israel's represented as a lily. She's represented as a vine. Now, we're going to connect these verses to Jeremiah 31:22. That's what we're going to do here. And I'll read one final verse. Isaiah 35 verse 1. The wilderness and the land will be glad. The desert will rejoice and blossom like a rose. And we found the rose of Sharon in Song of Songs, okay? Which is actually not a rose at all. It's a meadow saffron, according to your Strong's Hebrew Concordance when you look it up. So it's not a rose. Our terrain over here is very different than the terrain in the Middle East. So the translators of the word, I'm not sure that they knew what they were really looking at, you know. So anyway, that's a different discussion. But the verses that the Lord led me to, you find in Ezekiel 19, and it keeps stopping on me. I hope that don't show up. Ezekiel 19 verse 10, it says, your mother was like a vine in your vineyard planted by the water. She was, I'm going to say she, they got it. She was fruitful and full of branches. Branches there is daughters. Because of abundant water. Now, I'm doing the reverse again. But Ezekiel 19:9, it says this of her. It says, with hooks they caged her. This is Israel. They caged her. And they brought her to, it says the king of Babylon. I truly believe it was the queen, which is the horror spirit that she was brought to. It could have been the king of Babylon as well that she was brought to, because fallen Adam and the queen of Babylon, which is the horror spirit, they're one now. It says, know ye not, he that is joined to a harlot is one. So they're one. Many men like to pretend that it's always righteous men against wicked women everywhere, and that's all it's ever been about. No, there's wicked men, there's righteous men, there's wicked daughters, and there's righteous daughters. Actually, you're kind of looking at an X there almost, because in the beginning it was this Y that I did on one of my videos. It was the key of David and the key of Solomon, and so you have these two women who are an allegory. Adam made a covenant with the horror spirit. So this leaves this woman here, which was Eve, your righteous spirit. And who come to claim her? Well, Christ did, didn't he? He came to claim that key back. That gives us all life, right? But it says they brought her into captivity so that her roar was not heard any longer on the mountains of Israel. That's Zion. They brought her into captivity. They did not want her ruling. Now watch what Ezekiel 19:11 says. Sorry, I'm all over the board in this chapter. It says she had strong branches. This is daughters. It says it's likely it's a feminine here. This is daughters, which is the same daughters that you see passing through the wall, that the archers, which is your Baal, which is your husband, which is your God image that they created as your God, he, men, your husband, and they're seen firing their arrows, which is their words, at these righteous daughters as they pass through the wall in Joseph's blessings in Genesis 49, verses 22-23. And then 24 tells you that the shepherd, it says, from thence will come the shepherd, it's shepherdess, which is your spirit, the rock of Israel. Well, your rock is representative of your foundation, which is your spirit that you are founded upon. So it says she had strong branches, daughters, fit for a ruler's scepter. What? Daughters? Well, if it's feminine branches, it's your daughters in view. That's what it's telling you. And it's translated literally as daughters in Joseph's blessings in Genesis 49, 22-23, one of those verses. So it says she had strong branches, strong daughters that were fit for a ruler's scepter. They were fit to rule. She towered high above the thick branches, conspicuous for her height and for her dense foliage. So she was very richly blessed in the beginning. All right. Now, where was I? Just a second here. Ezekiel 19 verse 8 says this, all right? It says, then the nations that surrounded Israel, came against her, which are those regions round about, all right? It says round about. Catch that word. It's a circuit, round about. And the number they have here is 5439, Hebrew, all right? So then the nations came against her, those regions round about. Remember that, right? They spread their net for her, and she was trapped in their pit. That's what Ezekiel 19:8 says. Okay, so this goes back to a video that I did. What was it called? I can't remember what it was called. I'll put it in the notes underneath. But in that video, I state that Israel represented Eve's seed. Eve's seed was blessed in the beginning. After she was separated and set out, she was blessed. And she was set apart from the man. He did not want a covenant with her. That's what that symbolizes. He chose covenant with the Holy Spirit, which is where your Old Testament law comes from, which is designed to subjugate us and keep us under bondage. That's what it's designed to do. We've discussed this. And so, where was I? So he sets her out, and the nation of Israel represents that separated glory is what the nation of Israel came to represent. Now, when they wandered in the desert, they fell into the same trap that the first Adam fell into. Okay, we discussed that in that video, which I'll put underneath. All right. But what we found out, or what we come to realize, is that while Israel represented Eve's seed, it was the only nation that represented the woman's seed, her actual children, her actual seed. That the surrounding nations that came against her, because she was flourishing at this point, she was flourishing above and beyond any other nations that were surrounding her. And what we come to realize is the surrounding nations around her represented Adam's seed and the Holy Spirit seed. All right? And while they exalted their kings, which eventually they would tag on certain components to their kingly names, making them sound like gods, all right? Israel represented Mother Yahweh. They worshipped Mother Yahweh, and their rulers were the daughters of Zion, all right? But these surrounding male nations that worshipped kings as their gods couldn't have that, right? Because she was flourishing. So we discuss how Balaam and Balak, and we discuss all of that, how they send women in to seduce the men so they can take out the right hand of Mother Yahweh. Okay, we discuss all that in that video. But here we have a clear picture of the woman's seed being surrounded by the man's seed. All right? Right? Then the nations came against her, those regions round about. They spread their net for her, and she was trapped in their pit. Israel is called a lioness. She's not a lion, she's a lioness, Ariel. It even sounds like a woman's name, though they stick it on a lot of men. But it tells us in Micah 4, again, that she lies like a lioness amongst the nations. That's what it tells us. Let's go there to get that right. Micah 4, I say it's 4. Right. It is. It's 5. It is 5, not 4. So Micah chapter 5, verse 7 says this, and the remnant of Israel, shall be in the midst of many people as a dew, doctrine, truth, fire, law, grace. Right? The law of heaven is not found on Old Testament law. It's founded upon grace. And Christ summed up 2 of those laws. He says, this is the sum of the law. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul. And the second is love thy neighbor as thyself. Now, that's the law that heaven is founded upon. It's not founded upon subjugation of anybody. It's found on equity. All right? We discussed this. We talked this through in many of the other videos. So in verse 7, and the remnant of Israel shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for men, nor waiteth for the sons of men. Verse 8, and the remnant of Israel, it says Jacob, I'm going to say Israel, shall be among the Gentiles. All right, here we go. In the midst of many people as a lioness, not a lion, among the beasts of the forest, as a young lioness among the flock of sheep, who, if she go through, both treadeth down, and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Well, we're also told in Micah that it's daughter Zion that's going to thresh the nations. We're told it in chapter 4 of Micah, verse 13. Arise and thresh, O daughter Zion, for I will make thy horn iron. Your horn is a symbol of the Spirit or the horn of Christ that's going to be exalted. All right? And she says that. She says, I'm going to exalt the horn of my son, which is his Spirit. All right? Christ says in Matthew 18:18, whatsoever you bind in earth, you will bind in the heavens. So he's saying, release my Spirit in the earth. All right? And we're going to be seen in the heavens when that happens. We're going to kick that horror spirit out of the midst of the body. That's what we're going to do. So it says, arise, thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hooves brass. And thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. All right. Now, Lord here in this case is Christ, the Lord of the whole earth. He's Lord of the whole earth too. He's a king too. He's the Lord. Just one quick note here. Daughter Zion's number is 136. Christ is 118. And when you say Lord of Lords, it's actually Queen of Lords is what it should be. He's saying, this is my beloved. He's saying, she has my heart. He's saying, she's my queen. That's what he's saying. All right? You look that up, Lord of Lords. It's 136 and 118. All right? And we discussed Psalm 110, how it's daughter Zion that sits to his right hand. And Mother says in Psalm 80, she says, to whom will I give my right hand to? Understand, Song of Songs says it is the mother that will crown her son with the daughter. It's the mother that determines the queen, not father or the king or Christ himself. It is mother that determines who the queen will be. All right? This is a race. Okay, so I got off track because I really am trying to pull this together pretty quick. Then the nations came against her. Those regions round about, they spread their net for her, and she was trapped in their pit. All right. Now, we also discussed in that same video how Mother said to the men of Israel, if you're going to be no different than these surrounding nations of Adam, all right, if you're going to be no different, you're going to cast off my righteous daughters as your rulers, then you're not going to have them. So they end up being cast out into the fields of the Gentiles. And Micah tells us that they're asleep out there as these mighty lionesses that's going to be ready to thresh in the end of days. Now, watch what happens in Jeremiah 31:22. It actually changes. It actually changes. This is the incredible part of it all. When she got cast out into the fields of the Gentiles, Adam came into Israel. Fallen Adam and the Holy Spirit came in to Israel. And she got cast out into the fields of the Gentiles. And they thought, we'll get rid of her. We've entrapped her in our pit. End of story. No. Watch what the end of the story is. Jeremiah 31:22. How long will you wander, unfaithful daughter? Pick your head up. Understand what the dew of heaven is, what the true doctrine is. And the Lord will create a new thing on the earth. The woman, remember who the woman is. The woman's seed is Israel. Eve's seed is Israel. That got cast out in the fields of the Gentiles. You're not going to trace your lineage through the daughters. You're not going to trace it through the sons. It says a new thing on earth will be created. The woman, the daughter, will surround the man or the land. So what's the land now here that's represented as a man? It looks like Israel has now become a male and is now surrounded by these nations, which Israel now claims as her own. All right? And we discussed that as well, the birthright, when we discussed Isaiah 49 and how mother says to her daughter Zion, I'm going to make you not only a light unto the Israelites, but you will now be a light unto the Gentiles as well. And that is accomplished when she casts them out into the fields of the Gentiles, because then she begins to claim the Gentile nations as she goes, because it's the woman's seed that claims all of them. And now here she is surrounding this male nation, which is Adamic now. That's what it looks like it's saying. And it's saying, Jeremiah 31:21, set up the road marks. Establish the signposts. We're going to look at that word. Keep the highway in mind. The road you have traveled. Return, O virgin Israel, and return to these cities. And I say, this Zion of yours. Return back. This is yours. This has always been yours. He took you, he cast you out in the fields of the Gentiles. That whore spirit took what was rightfully yours because he exalted that whore spirit in the midst of the body. Put her in charge of what you are rightfully in charge of. And Christ says, this is my spirit. You exalt her in the earth, and you're going to exalt her into the heavens. You get that? That's what this is telling us. So, it's telling us to return, right? Now, the word here, I couldn't help, once I began to look up vine and lily and connect it to Israel, and I found a verse, and again I'm going to be backwards on this, but it says in Isaiah 40 verse 3, it says, a voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord. That's Mother Yahweh. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. But, and I did it backwards again, Isaiah 40 verse 2, it says, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare, that warfare there, again, is a feminine, is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. For she has received of the Lord's hand double for all of her sins. I have, it takes 66 days for the purification of the woman after she's had a daughter. But that represents that twofold spirit, that whore spirit that he let in. All right? And then you have the righteous spirit. But it says, so the purification of the feminine is double the time, because of that. All right? But her portion of blessing is also doubled. You understand that? She has a double portion. Because of all of this that she's had to receive, that she's had to take on. But the word here that I was looking for. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Just a second. Why didn't I put where that word popped up? Let me go in here. Sorry, folks, about this again. But it popped up in... Yeah, it was in... Yeah, it pops up in 3 places. A signpost, a monument. Okay, that's the word I wanted to look at. Which is your Hebrew number 6725. And it appears... Yeah. See, I connected it from Jeremiah 31:21, right? It says, set up the road marks. Establish the signposts, right? Keep the highway in mind, the road you have traveled. Return, O Virgin Israel, return these cities, this Zion, of yours. And in Isaiah 40, verse 3 says, the voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Now, that word signpost, or 6725, I was looking at, okay, and it says a guiding pillar, a waymark, a signpost, and this is what I speculated, a finish line, right? And so we've all been seeing that number 1111. I wonder if it ain't pointing to a gateway, to a signpost, right? The finish line. I wonder that, right? Because isn't that what it kind of looks like? Doesn't it look like 2 posts to a finish line? It does, doesn't it? It really does. And you know what? I wanted to show you this. At the end of, I believe it was World War II, because Canada had helped liberate many parts of Europe, in France, Holland, many places. But in France gave Canada this monument. And it sat on, I forget the acres. It was like something like 30 acres of land. I can't remember the exact. And the monument they gave them looks just like a signpost, in my opinion. And it's on our $20 bill. And I don't know, for anybody who don't know what our $20 bill looks like, this is the back of our $20 bill. All right? And that is the monument that France bequeathed to Canada at the end of World War II for liberating some of their cities. All right? And it sits on 30 acres of land. And it looks like an 11, doesn't it? It does. And it's got these naked women. If you get a magnifying glass, it's got these naked women crawling all over it, which is actually what the monument looks like too in France, which is said to represent the spirit of Canada. It's kind of interesting, but probably not so much if you're not a Canadian. But that looks like signpost. It does. And I think that's what that 11 means too. It's representing a finish line, a gateway. And what does it say? You find it here. It says this in 1 Corinthians 9:24. I didn't write the verse down. I wrote the reference down. Okay, typical me. So 1 Corinthians 9:24. What does it say? And that number 9:24, 24:9 always seems to pop up with me, and probably many of the other saints as well. But in 1 Corinthians 9 it says this. I'll get there. I will. Takes me a while to do anything. Okay. This is what it says. And I think most of us know this verse as well. It says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize, so run that ye may obtain. Those are interesting words for anybody who wants to go in and look them up on interlinear. But it means I seize tight, I hold, I capture, I overtake, I perceive, I comprehend. All right? But I could not get over how that signpost, monument, what it's called, pillars, is another word for it. And I can't help but see the finish line, especially when she says, tell Israel to return back to me. And I think she's talking about the clean footpath. I honestly believe that that's what that pillar, that 11, that gateway, signpost, waymark, our waymark, it's leading us home. It's the clean footpath in view. This is what we're running for. This is what we're striving for, I believe. And it just hit me, you know, when I was studying. That's what that looks like. It does so look like a finish line. And I wonder if that's why we ain't been seeing the number 11 as well. So I wanted to share that with you, how it's changed. That the woman in the beginning was surrounded. That the woman was Israel, that represented the woman's seed, Israel, in the beginning, which was a blessed seed. And how she was surrounded by these surrounding Adamic nations, and that whore spirit, that they were in covenant together. And here you have Israel set out. She's trying to defend the truth on her own. And then they lay a snare for her. They entrapped her kings. They entrapped her daughters, the righteous daughters of Zion. And eventually these daughters of Zion were cast out into the fields of the Gentiles. And now things turn around, because her birthright has now expanded. And we discussed that, like I said, in a prior video. We talk about the birthright, Isaiah 49, how Mother Yahweh says we'll make it a much grander mantle for you to wear. And the mantle is represented by the body. So, but it's all there. How, you know, in the beginning it starts out this little woman nation surrounded by all the men, but in the end it ends up with the man surrounded by the woman. So she's took over a much larger birthright. Alright, and it is talking about these daughters of Zion, which is Israel, which is 144,000, that lie sleeping as lionesses, that's going to thresh the nations in the end of days. And they're going to thresh, they're going to begin with truth. It's truth. You're going to be birthed with the truth. She says in Isaiah 42, she says, now will I go forth like a travailing woman. And it tells us over again in Isaiah 46, you know, why do I see every man standing around with his hands on his hip? Actually, that's not, I don't think, in Isaiah 46. It seems like that's in Jeremiah 2. Well, it's because he can't birth the burden. It's only the daughters that can birth the burden. Only they can birth this. Only they can. And that's symbolic of what we do. I mean, that's what the Spirit does. She births truth. So that's the video today. I know it's a bit convoluted, forgive me for that, but anybody that's been watching me and has managed to pick up some of the threads, maybe this will help tie it tightly together for you. So thanks for watching my video. I hope I said everything I wanted to say. Usually when I watch the video, I'll go, oh, you didn't say this, or you didn't say that, and that would have really pulled it together much better. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for anyone that's posted my videos. I hope the Lord blesses you today. I hope you all have a really, really nice day.